Today, we are joined by Jeff Large. Jeff is the founder and owner of Laundry Systems of Tennessee in the Knoxville area, and he's also now the owner of Laundry Systems of Wisconsin. So he started this business from not a whole lot. He started it from a phone that had a list of contacts, hotels, hospitalities, businesses, institutions that were using the big, huge commercial laundry system, washers and dryers. And from that very simple beginning, he's built this into an 8-figure business, and then partnered with somebody who had an existing business in Wisconsin. And through Jeff's knowledge of how to acquire customers and efficiencies and how to just run things smoother, he's grown the Wisconsin business as well. In this interview, you'll hear Jeff go back through all of his memories, including a failed HVAC business that he had before he started the laundry business. You'll hear about resistance to starting a business that was put there by his dad. You'll hear him get emotional as he talks about people who helped him along the way. Jeff is a real salt of the earth guy. He has learned, though, how to be a business builder, and I think you're really going to love this one. Welcome to the Business Builder Way podcast, where we help business builders grow leadership skills and wisdom and stay grounded through hero stories. So let's get after it. Hey, Jeff, welcome to the Business Builder Way podcast. Thanks for joining us to share your story today.
Hey, good afternoon, Wayne. Good to be here.
Awesome. Well, you and I chatted just a little bit before I hit record, and the Business Builder Way is about sharing your story with other people that are building businesses, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And if you want to take it away, tell us, how did you first hear the call to start your own business and get going? And we'll go from there.
Well, if I back up from that, probably the big one, living where I was in East Tennessee, I had a, very modest raising, a good Christian family, great raising. Went to high school, finished that with a solid C- average, not the best student ever. But anyway, went on to HVAC school after that. Thought I was going to get into the HVAC trade. Felt like a good service that, fit with me. After about 2/3 of the way through that, I decided to get out of school, did not even finish that, and went to work for an HVAC company. So worked with them about 6 months, and then it kind of started from there. That's kind of when the quote entrepreneurial bug bit me. And I've literally not had a job since I was 20 years old, other than working for myself. And here we are today.
Nice. So first business was actually, so now you are the owner of Laundry Systems of Tennessee and also Laundry Systems of Wisconsin, right?
Yes. Yeah, we actually started in the HVAC. I did it for about, I think I'd have to do the math, probably about 6 years. And then I had the opportunity to get into the laundry equipment business, which is what I'm currently in now. And we got into that in October of 1996. And 2 years ago, two years ago this January, we actually expanded and did a branch up in Wisconsin, which is in a town called Neenah, in between Oshkosh and Appleton. And actually using the knowledge that I had gained from the years prior, Wayne, I hadn't mentioned that to you, but that was huge to be able to take that knowledge into that market and go within less than 12 months to a business that's already in the black. And now in year 2, it's really doing well.
Nice. So we're going to go back to the beginning. It's almost like one of those TV shows where we're going to jump time from before to current day. But it is great, that piece where 2 years ago you expanded and it went faster this time because of all you've known compared to before. That's helpful. Tell us about these two businesses. You sell commercial laundry equipment, you service it, also the chemicals. But like, how many people in Tennessee ballpark, and how many in Wisconsin, and who are your clients?
what's the business right now?
Yeah, well, to say that, once I got out of the heating and air and got over into the laundry equipment business, it actually fit very close because it's a service-based business, just like HVAC. And so we, in 96, started with just me and my wife doing the books. And for the next few years, I would have between 1 and 2 employees. Then 10 years later, I've got 3 or 4. Up until today, I've got 32 employees in Sevierville. I've got 3 employees in the Wisconsin branch, and we're actively searching for 4 more staff members and absolutely busting at the seams.
Awesome. And so not the washer and dryer that I have in my house, but big washers and dryers and equipment in mostly for the hospitality industry, right?
Yeah, to put it into perspective, our smallest washer, being that we've for years specialized in the hospitality industry, let's just say you go to a Hampton Inn. A Hampton Inn normally has 2 60-pound washers, meaning that a 60-pound washer normally equates to 1 pound per towel. So each washer will do 60 towels per load, 120 towels at a time. And your washer that you have at the house is usually between 16 and 18 pounds. So it's about 3 to 4 times bigger, and built with the industrial aspect, made to do 8 to 10, 12 loads per day versus 1 to 2 loads in your residential machines.
And a Hampton Inn like that, to use that example, and my son and I just stayed at Hampton Inn the other night. How often do they change out those machines that you sell them a new one, and how do you maintain them? What does it take as far as maintenance?
Yeah, we actually, when you sell a machine, let's just say you build a new hotel, we put machines in it. Just like with anything, whether it be a vehicle, air conditioning, cars, whatever, there's a lifespan for everything. So with commercial machines, on the low end, it's about 12 years. On the high end, it's 18 to 20 years with proper maintenance. So kind of, if you had to figure an average, would be around 15 years. So it's a really long-term purchase, very similar to buying a tractor or something for a farm, because these are the workhorses of the actual property itself.
Gotcha. And so the people on staff, when you say we're actively looking for 4 people, it's common that as a business gets to your size, there's a few roles that are the ones that, we need more technicians, or we need more salespeople, or people in the warehouse, or whatever. I don't know for sure. I kind of know because you and I've worked together, but like, what are those key roles for your company that you build?
Yeah, well, the difficulty right now, I'll start with answering and back into it. Where we're at right now, Wayne, is that we've hit the horrible reality of scaling. I mean, so we're at that position now. When we were a 5-figure business, no problem. 6-figure business, yeah, okay, let's work it into it. Now, when you get to 7 figures, it's starting to get challenging. Now we've crossed over into the 8 figures annually, and now it's gotten to where I feel a little bit of it is that I get disconnected from all of the places that I used to be connected. So now I'm having to put people in places, the managers that I deal with and trust, that are actually carrying along, the formula that we've had for success for so many years. And so far, so good. Right now, currently, don't care a bit to share with you, is we're actually looking for a director of operations, because when I was talking down in the 6 and 7 figure area where we worked in revenue, I could be that director of operations. I had all the time in the world to manage the fleet, to do this, to do that. It was all these things that have to get done, and they're not necessarily a revenue generating project, but they have to get done. And so now it's gotten to where I'm pulling people out of their positions of making money over into this position of operations to get these projects done. So again, we're at that point where we're just having to scale to the next level. I'm really excited about it, I will say that. I'm scared to death, about making the wrong hire. And, with this operations director, it is not going to be everybody's boss. I'm not going to hire in and put a boss over people that have been with me for 15 and 18 years. I want somebody that's going to come in and work together to assemble and just line everything out. And I'm just really, been prayerful about it, trying to just get the right person with the right skill set, and more importantly, the right heart, that can come in and just help us even grow to the next level.
Gotcha. And then down in the worker level, like in the beehive, you've got technicians, salespeople, warehouse workers. What are the roles where you have more than one person doing the same job?
Well, our number one, we have always been a service first business. So I would argue among everything that our technicians are our largest asset. So we've got 9 service technicians in our East Tennessee office, and we got 2 in the Wisconsin branch right now. And we have always sold and operated our business from a customer/service perspective. A lot of people operate from a product first and then service. We offer service first and serve the customer, no matter what the need is. Just serve the customer and the equipment comes. I mean, it's been a really, really winning strategy for us, and I don't ever see change in that one.
And you sell one, or you're a distributor of one particular brand, or that's what I remember from before. Is that still the case?
Yeah, we actually carry 3 brands, but our dominant brand that we sell the most of is a product called Continental Jerbal. The parent company is actually just north of Barcelona, Spain. And we've been selling that product for 23 years. And I mean, it's a really sound product, great service backing from the factory itself. And, just when you deal with something that long, it just kind of becomes integrated into the company itself. So you feel like we're part of the manufacturer, but we sell other brands too. And some of it's based on price point, to where we've got a more, let's just call it a value engineered product. And then with some of it is due to territories. Some of the equipment we can sell in multiple territories, where I have the Continental Jerbal brand that I sell in the state of Tennessee, Kentucky, Western North Carolina, up to Roanoke, Virginia, and then up in the Wisconsin area.
Gotcha. And when you said service first, will your technicians will service other brands of equipment if a hotel or other owner is having challenges?
Yes, absolutely. If it fills with water and goes round and round, we'll service it.
Got it.
I mean,
even I can understand that.
Yeah, and so many people. We've got other distributors that do what I do that are very, I don't want to use the word vindictive, but a little bit harsh would probably be. They don't want to work on other people's machines. But again, that's very product driven, and that they're making that decision, and I get it. They're trying to push people to their product, but still, again, I want to serve the customer. And if a customer's got a machine that's 10 or 12 years old, it still has value in it. We can repair it, do a bearing job, motor replacement, whatever, get it back up and going. We've done the right thing for the customer. And, that's pretty big success doing it that way for many years.
Yeah. I think the title of this is going to be "If It Fills with Water and Goes Round and Round." Are you down?
Are you?
No. Go back to please. So take me back, because I know a little bit of your startup story, and you're doing HVAC, and you were telling me the other day about how you had a hotel owner say, "Hey, could you do this?" And I think it's a wonderful origin story. Could you share how you got started with laundry equipment?
Sure. The way I got into this is that, through a little bit of attrition, in the HVAC industry, It's what's called spec houses. Spec house is just small mom and pop 3-bedroom, but contractors are building them just to flip the deals. So I was doing a ton of that just to pay the bills. So there's no money in it. The contractor's making all the money. I'm barely making a paycheck. So I was kind of getting burnt out on the HVAC business, and happened to be at a Hampton Inn, ironically. No, I'm sorry, it was a Fairfield Inn in downtown Sevierville, Tennessee, and working on the Dectron pool unit. That's the dehumidifier for the pool area. And the owner of the hotel came around and asked me, he said, "Hey, Jeff, do you work on laundry equipment?" And I just kind of had that blank stare that a lot of people give me nowadays, is that when you say laundry equipment, they're thinking your washer, dryer in your house. And I said, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." He said, "No, the big stuff for the hotel." So anyway, one thing led to another. He said, "Hop in." I get in his truck. We go back to a central laundry he has for his 3 properties. So I'm kind of a gearhead. I always was the kid that took his bicycle apart and, and took drills apart to see why they went round and round. And I go back into this laundry, and there was just something that when I saw it, it just clicked. The larger equipment, bigger industrial machines, and it just felt right. And so the short story is over about the next 30 to 60 days, I can't remember exactly the timeline, I went and rode around with a gentleman. His name was Charles Sims, and he was just a service technician, and he was retiring. So that's why John had asked me about that, because he was looking for somebody. And this guy was just a little mom and pop pickup truck. And I just rode around with him a few days. We went to other customers, got to fellowship with them, just so enjoyed the fellowship with the laundry staff in each of these hotels and everything. And so then one thing led to another. And I remember it like it's yesterday. For $5,000, I bought his pager, which, I hope somebody listening to this is old enough to remember when we had pagers and a roll of dimes and then a roll of quarters. So,
right.
But 865-564-4062. And so I bought that for $5,000 and told him if I could afford it, I would give him $1,000 a month for 10 months for a total of $15,000. And note, I did have to borrow the $5,000 from my dad to buy the pager initially. And so that was it. I mean, that was the origin of the business. And, not to completely share numbers, but, we do more in a week now than I did the whole first year I was in laundry business. Yeah. And so it's grown immensely, and I couldn't be more happy.
Now you also told me when we were getting ready for this about some things about your background and the fact that your dad was a union worker, and as you got into this having your own business, that was not something that necessarily had been done in your family, and that there were some headwinds to starting out as an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest understatement you'll make today, Wayne. I had a union father that was this. I mean, when I say this, at church 3 times a week, good God-fearing, go and do your 40 hours, union worker. Yeah. And so when I had this, just pie in the sky, he just thought I was just daydreaming, of being this entrepreneur that, I believe I've somewhat became at this point. But, he did it because he loved me. But anyway, it was tough for me to desire so much to go out and be something and grow and dream. And then to have your father to just tell you, stop, go get a job, take care of your family, you're failing. And man, you talk about a young man getting kicked in the teeth I mean, and now today I appreciate it so much because he just was doing it because he loved me. There was nothing. He thought I was letting my family down. He thought I was doing the same thing and not raising my family, because when I say this, my father and mother gave me we lived in a small 1,000 square foot, 3-bedroom house, I mean, just this very low middle class. But, I remember, like yesterday, seeing my mom always just writing her tithe check to the church and things like that. And just this very responsible, structured life that they lived. And so it all makes sense now. It did not when I was 22, 23 years old. I just stayed mad at him all the time because he told me everything I was doing was wrong. But luckily, he passed a few years ago, and, he did have the benefit of seeing my foolish pie in the sky dream come to fruition. So there was a little bit of joy in that. And also a little bit of I told you so too. So.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It sounds like you really appreciate now, with hindsight, everything he gave you, even if at the time you didn't understand it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I wish with my 3 kids, I'm getting better at it to this day, but I still try really hard to do that, because sometimes I caught myself this very day, Wayne, talking to my son as a boss and not a father. And I mean, it's crushing, because he's doing everything in the world that he can. And he brought something to me, and being the boss figure, I just met it as a boss, and I'm driving down the road, and just all of a sudden it's like, you idiot, what did you just do? And then all of a sudden I turn around, and I've still got to make amends for that. But I do that not as often as you would think, but sometimes it's still, I guess I'm my father's son.
I thank you for sharing that about your dad and about your son on the other end. Jeff, you and I have known each other now for quite a long time. It's funny how the years add up, and I know that you are a business builder. Like you're very much my people, and the type of folks that we have in our mastermind groups and stuff, because we're willing to celebrate and talk about having, in your case, Liz, you said you've gotten to an 8-figure business. Not everybody has gotten to that point yet. Some are at 7, some are at 6, some are still in that stage where they've got family members who are questioning why they don't go get a real job. We have that whole kind of width of experience. But one thing about everybody I work with is that they're on a journey to do better, to be more conscious of what their parents have given them, to reflect on things with their children, either younger or adult. And when you have somebody who is working in your business, and your dad also, right? Is he working in the business now?
No.
Oh, he's not. So he's outside, but you wear that hat with so many people, so it's so easy to put that back on. But that self-reflection is really
I'm sorry. No, if you talk about my son, yes, he is working in the business. If that's what you were saying, yes.
Yeah, about your son.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. So, and lots of parents out there either have children currently working in the business, grown, not children, or hope to in the future. And that recognition of, is this a parent moment or is this a boss moment, and getting clear on that. It's not easy.
Yeah. And hiring your children is not for the faint of heart. I will tell you that right now.
And working for your parents is not for the faint of heart. So cheers to them too.
Yes, for sure.
So back in the early days, the other thing that struck me when you and I were chatting was your gratitude for the way people treated you along the way. And you had told me a little bit of a story about a repo man back in the day as you were getting started, who helped extended some kindness to you?
Man, you're kicking me in the feels this morning or this afternoon, because that's a hard story to tell, because that was the bottom. That was the bottom of the barrel for me, because that was I mean, we got to where it was hard to even, when you got the electric guy coming up and you make friends with the electric company guy so he don't cut your power off. And, you know, I'm telling you, you're kicking me in the feels now. So, but to not have enough money, you know, to even pay your light bill, and trying to do heating and air at the time, and to have a vehicle, and what it come down to, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea. I had the energy, the skill set, the desire, everything. I just had nobody to tell me how to do it. And so that was the end of the road. When, you know, I told you, just a common courtesy, they came to repo my truck. This is the first new truck I ever had, you know, and as the guy is kind enough to pull it up on, as he's pulling it up on the flatbed, you know, I was just kind to him. And he said, man, he said, you know, normally we just pick them and run, but he said, if you want to take time, you know, go ahead. Go ahead and just get whatever. Go ahead and get whatever you need out of it. And I can still see him to this day, just a kind person, and doing a job like that would, I mean, you'd have to be some masochist to enjoy that job, knowing what you're doing to people. And for him in that moment, just to be kind, that was, holy crap, man. That was, because nothing felt good at that point. And that, as hard as it was, I think that's why it stings so hard. It's the absolute best thing that ever happened to me. Absolute, from a business standpoint. The good Lord and my wife are the other ones, but from a business standpoint, that was because it gave me that point to where I stuck my heels in the ground and said, I'm not going back here. I'm done. I'm absolutely done. I'm going to figure this out. We're going to, I mean, there's just no other way around it. And, you know, one thing led to another, and I'd love to say that everything just turned perfect the next day. Obviously it didn't, but I'll give, and you didn't even know this, I didn't share with you, is, let's just say, I think it was 2 years later, Wayne, that where I would probably say there's so much value in, number one, having mentors. That is, I'd tell anybody, you know, get a mentor, whether it's a spiritual mentor, a family mentor, just anything that you want to grow at. Find a friend, somebody at church, somebody that you work with, play ball with, whatever, that you feel is achieving it, and just get to know them. I mean, it is that simple. Don't overthink it. Just get to know them. And the other one is coaches. It is absolutely, and I'm telling you, you know, podcast people, this is not, he didn't even know I was going to say this, but Wayne, you were pivotal at one point with me. But there was a lady by the name of Ellen Rohr, ROHR. We went to a class of hers, and it was on money. And she was a financial person about billing and stuff like this. And I went to that one class, Wayne, that changed my life. One class. And it is that simple. No education, no bump in the road, no anything. This one thing, to go and sit and listen to her. And so much of it was so hard to hear, is because she was going around the room saying, how much are you charging per hour? And you would say, well, I'm charging, at that time, it was $40 an hour, $35, $40 an hour. You're not near enough. And so out of fear in my mind, she's telling us that, you know, you're not charging enough to make a living. Why are you charging that? And everybody says, well, it's what the customers will pay. She said, when's the last time you ask a customer how much they would pay? You've got this in your mind and you're putting it out there. You're the one that is causing the business to fail. And she's quite a lovely lady, but very stern on these facts that she put in place. And I left that meeting with that I'm running this business for myself and my family, not my customers. I'm serving my customers with the service I offer, but I'm building this business for me and my family. So she was the one that first taught me to pay yourself first. That's one of the hardest things that I've ever done. You know, I'm sitting there and I can't even pay, you know, I'm behind at the parts house and this, that, and the other. And no matter what, pay yourself first. And I started doing that. And then I'm telling you, Wayne, over just a month or two, and especially over the following years, it was, I've not spoke to her since. I actually need to write her a letter, to be honest with you. But that was a big one. And that's what I'm saying. I wish I'd known then what I know now, as far as getting, you know, those advisors in my life, instead of me just trying to figure it out. And I think there's so many people, especially young people, I can't help but to see kids running up and down the road with a ladder rack on the top of their truck. And you can see that they're just in their 20s and with this old beat up truck. And they're just, you can just feel that. I could even feel them getting those jobs and feeling like they're accomplishing something. And you just wish you could just tell them what they're doing, you know, help them with what they're doing, show them what they're doing right and or wrong, you know, and help them out. But, you know, it's.
Well, so I hit you in the feels with a couple questions because
I'll do it again. That's two, no more.
All right, we're done. So the other day when I said to you, this podcast can serve as an inspiration for people that are, maybe they're younger in years in building a business than you are, or maybe they're just younger in experience and how far along they are in the journey. But either way, your story of how now you have a different set of challenges and you're looking for a director of operations because you have an 8-figure business. So when I hear that, and I think 32 employees here and opened a branch in Wisconsin, for an entrepreneur early in the journey, it's easy to think, wow, that guy must have really had it figured out. And it was probably straight to the top for Jeff Large, probably never any bumps in the road. And when I was saying that you can serve people that way, you said, well, let me tell you about the time somebody repoed my truck a long time ago. Right. And it's a gift to have you say, no, it hasn't been completely straight. I had to get help. I went to a class, I learned from them, and it all adds up. Right. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. That's nothing of it was easy. It's still not easy to this day. I mean, but I think we all appreciate and love the challenges of work. And, you know, I'm really good about compartmentalizing things now from a business and a personal aspect, especially as we've grown. But yeah, that was, I mean, I had, from the time my son was born to probably the time he was 10 years old. I mean, it was when I say paycheck, I'd love for it to have been paycheck to paycheck, because it was paycheck to run a credit card for a month, then back to maybe a paycheck to, it was, you know, and what was, I guess the irony of it, Wayne, is that what I needed to fix was so easy. It was just the lack of knowledge that I had. It was the lack of advice. You know, somebody showing me, you know, how to get your books right. Again, you know, just being a small company, you know, just handwriting paper tickets and just, I would give anything. Well, no, I take that back. I wouldn't. I appreciate it just the way it happened.
Yeah, exactly. How did you, and what advice would you give to somebody to just keep going through that? How did you keep going?
didn't have enough sense to know better. But no, I just always had, Wayne, I just had that entrepreneurial fire. It's just, I've always wanted to be, everybody talks about it being your own boss and that. I want to create, I want to grow, and to do that, for me to actually work for somebody would actually hold me back. So I personally just like being in control, for better or for worse, of the whole situation. So I've had dreams, and now as I've just, crossed 50 years old. One of the things I'm a little bit frustrated at myself now is that I don't think I dreamed big enough, because I look back right now at the dreams from a business standpoint, as well as a financial income standpoint. And the irony is, I am almost exactly at where I said I was going to be. I mean, almost to a T. And I remember telling my dad that, again, these arguments, friendly, loving arguments, I told him, I was going to retire at 45 years old, making X amount of money, annually. I'm not retired, but the money is there. And, I do think that I put that out into the universe, not only to the universe, but I planted that seed in my head. And when I did that, that's what grew. So if I would challenge anybody, it's, man, dream a little, at least a little bit bigger than you are currently, because you can do it. I mean, there's no way that I could see where I'm at right now, and coming from where I did with as I said, a C- average, just barely skating through high school, to where I'm at right now. I would have never dreamed it. And and that's just, I guess, the entrepreneurial spirit and just not giving up.
So you're 50 now, right? That's what you
52,
said?
52.
52.
Yeah.
And so you're reconsidering this dreaming thing. And at the same time, you've gone on this inward journey to where you're very conscious of how you show up for your son, as you said, or how you reflect on your father and who you are. So you're at this stage of life, like self-actualizing too. What time frame do you dream of now? So if you're telling other people to dream bigger, what do you, because it's not only money in business either, right? Like, it's everything in life, your whole full life.
Yeah, we're actually, if you've seen our house, we live on the top of the mountain here, and it's not our dream, it's the very near future. We're building a new house. My wife and I, we both love to travel. That's our big passion. And now we've fallen in love with that, being out west. So we're going to do a lot of that. I mean, the dream right now, I'm still too young to nail that one completely down, because I'm scared I'll underdo it again, because we're still in a transition. We've got some things at this point in our life that we are super happy that we can afford to do and are doing. We've got rental houses. I'll share with you, one of our dreams that we're moving toward is buying a house out west. And that's actually why we're traveling out there, to find kind of where we'd like, because I love to snow ski, mountain bike, and then, even in the summertime, be out there trout fishing, things like that. So we're wanting to find and build a little cottage style house somewhere out west. And that's kind of the near future dream. And
well, you're always allowed to like get to a dream place and then dream again, right? So
yeah. Well, and I know it, knowing my wife, the next one will be a beach house.
Nice.
So,
and you got a big family, and y'all are pretty close. So that sounds like a great idea.
Yep. Lucky on that. Well, you talk about being lucky on that front. I mean, I've got 3 kids, 7 grandkids, and I see each and every one of them every week. And some of them, more than I want to. So I'm not just kidding. Sometimes, I mean, they're around all the time. So it's never quiet.
So you've gone through a lot of growth as from the guy that had a truck and was actually doing the work to having this pager and some phone numbers and calling people and learning about the laundry business. And now you're at this place where you have these employees and you need managers. Who are you, the CEO today?
As far as expand a little bit.
How do you show up today? What do you think about? How do you view? Is your job still to do the work, or is it to? How do you lead at a higher level, Jeff?
Great. What a great question, Wayne. That's, all people say that, but I mean that literally. What a great question, because it's where I'm at right now, this very moment in this space, is that I'm having to change my thinking. And that's been a real challenge for me, being the person that always had that yes, no, up, down, do this, don't do that. Now I'm having to hand that off to somebody else. That is one of the most difficult things you will ever do. Most people think, oh, I don't want to do that. You always say that until you give it to somebody else to do. And then it leaves this void internally that is one of the more challenging things I've ever had to deal with. It's all of a sudden, I've been the guy that's going out doing the service work and meeting the customer and filling their needs, to where I have to step back and give that to somebody else. I feel like I'm losing out. And so now I'm just going back another step. So I'm having to I've been listening to a lot of books. I'm trying to grow in that, to become, I think right now is at this point is where my growth is, to be a leader. I've always been a doer. So I led by doing. Now I'm going to have to step back and learn how to grow other people to do. And I think, and when I talk about scaling, I think that's where I'm at as far as scaling the business is just, when I say scale the business, I'm literally talking about scaling Jeff Large is what I've got to do. And when I can figure out how to do that, and then I think that's where my success will lie, is doing that.
Nice. I know that you've let go of pieces progressively. You and I met because you sent me a message on LinkedIn. You wanted to get better at hiring salespeople and then getting them to go out and actually do the work. And you've managed to bring some people on to do that work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you'll just
we actually know. I'd still give you credit for that, Wayne. You taught me that skill set, how to write those employment ads, and we don't deviate a whole lot from it because it still works. I mean, it still works well, because you showed me how, most people put an employment ad out and it's like, you need to do this, you need to have this skill set, 3 years of this, 2 years of that. And when it really comes down to it, I'm telling you, instead of me saying, hey, here's why you should want to come to work for me. And I've shared it with other businesses as well, with great success, just for them to rewrite their ads on attracting people instead of repelling them. Because if you read an employment ad and it's like, well, I need this, you need to be this, and this, and you need to have 2 years of welding experience and this, and all of a sudden I've never welded, it's like, oh, I'm not the guy for them. Although we all know that you could have easily taught him how to weld and he may have been the perfect guy. So we offer, onboarding and training, that's the privilege of having enough technicians now, is that we can bring in the younger or even the older, but that they've got the skill set, but not the knowledge. And we can bring them in and train them up and actually create very, very well-rounded technicians. And we've had a great success at that, for sure.
Yeah, create people who have the kind of the want to, and that same thing with building a leadership team, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're creating the version, what we're creating who you were a few years ago in the business, and now you have this whole team of people doing those leadership roles like you used to do. So that's exciting that you're there and that you're still dreaming. And this has been really great to get to hear your story. And before we end, there's a couple things I want to ask. The first is, how does somebody get in touch with you if they'd like to, either maybe somebody that owns a hotel is listening and they need some laundry work, or maybe it's somebody that wants to come work for you, or maybe one of those younger people that you said you'd still like to help people when you can, who are driving up and down the road with the ladder. How do people get out and get in touch with you?
Yeah, probably one of the easiest way is to hit me up on LinkedIn. You can just look for Jeff Large and it'll come up there, and hit me up on that. You can send me a direct message. I'm glad to connect there. You can go to our website at laundrysystems.com, or you could call the office at 865-453-9972 and tell them, and I would love anybody, especially, younger people that are trying to get into this, man. I'd give anything to share. I'm an open book when it comes to that, for sure.
Thanks for that. And we hand out journals to business builders and encourage people to take some time. For most people, it's in the morning. Some people, surely it could be before bed or whatever, but to sit and think and be able to get their thoughts down on paper. So if you were to suggest one thing that people could sit and journal about, what would it be, Jeff?
Well, some people would call it their dreams, but it would be, what do you want? I mean, that is such a simple statement. Even in the Bible, you have not because you ask not. And I think you don't have because you don't know. So sit down long enough and write, just to get clarity, on what you want. If you're young and you're not married, write down the dream husband or dream wife, that, and it sounds corny, and I know it does, but just do it. And I think as you write things down, stuff will blossom from that. And as you write that down, now it's written down, and then you go to the next thought, and then that's how it grows to me, because it seems like, I think, as I talked about just a second ago, is that I didn't dream big enough. I dreamed that this is all I could do, but then you get there and it's like, wow, that wasn't that hard. So now where am I? So I think journaling and writing, I think, is a very similar situation to thinking and dreaming. You're just putting it down on paper.
Got it. What do I want? It is simple, but powerful. Jeff, thanks for sharing your story, and thanks for sharing from the heart. Really, you were vulnerable, and we appreciate that. And I know it's going to inspire somebody.
All right. Thanks, Wayne. Anytime, man. Appreciate the chat, and look forward to talking again soon.
Awesome. Thanks. Thank you for tuning into the Business Builder Way podcast. If this episode spoke to you, click that subscribe button and share it with a friend. That's how this message gets out into the world. If it is helpful for us to have a short conversation, I'd love to do that. Send me an email at wayne@businessbuildercamp.com.